Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels with me, Martin, Sean and Jill.
Hello. Hi.
On this episode, I'm talking to Stella Exeley from Hare Spring Cottage Plants down there in Devon, who was recently the master grower at the RHS Malvern Spring Festival.
And we'd like to say thank you to Plant Grow, who sponsor and support the podcast. They make a range of sustainably produced organic fertilizers and feeds, liquid feeds and compost and all sorts of great stuff like, soil and that sort of stuff.
Marvellous.
Yeah, my strawberries are doing very well with it, very nicely at the moment.
Oh, good to hear. And Martin's got some jobs for us, of course, including what we need to be doing with our fruit trees now to keep those apples really sort of edible and gorgeous for later on in the season. And then also we need to catch up about the Chelsea chop and find out whether now is the right time to be doing it.
Sounds painful.
Mm-hmm. But let's go and have a chat to Stella at Malvern Show.
Well, today I'm with Stella Exeley from Hare Spring Cottage Garden Plants, who is an amazing grower, got a fantastic collection of plants, and she's actually this year the master grower at the RHS Malvern Festival and done a fantastic display. But first of all, Stella, congratulations on that, but also tell me, how did it all start for you, your journey into horticulture?
Good morning, Martin. Thank you very much. I'm a career changer. So I've only been at this 15 years. I think I've aged 25 years, but doing it. But I worked in local government for many years and I've always grown like a lot of people. And I'm the youngest of four daughters that my late father, I think I'm the son that my late father never had. And I was the one out sort of hands in compost and climbing trees and that sort of stuff. And my paternal grandfather, George, had an allotment from a coal mining community in South Yorkshire. And I used to go to the allotment on Sundays and he grew price chrysanthemums. And I was just mesmerised from a young age. And always grown like so many people have. And then about 30 years ago, I discovered a bulbous perennial called Camassia. Started nerdily collecting and growing them. I'm as obsessed as ever with them. I've now got national collection of Camassia and two other national collections, Sidalcia and Uvularia, and grow a wide range of hardy perennials.
So you've obviously had that love of gardening for a long time, and like parents and grandparents, and so many of us, I think, the seeds sown with grandparents. So what made you take that jump? Because you've got a very successful career in local government, so it must have been quite a hard decision to say, right, I'm going to call it a day, draw a line under that, and start a nursery.
It was quite scary giving up the salary, I'll be honest with you, but to be involved in growing every day was beyond a dream come true. And I have to give credit to my husband Malcolm, who was the one that encouraged me to leave the job that I just wasn't fulfilled in. And I studied part-time at Askenbryan College in York. I used to travel up from Barnsley in South Yorkshire one day a week, and absolutely felt myself in the right environment with the right people and just learned very quickly. And I did Latin at school, dropped it as soon as I could. But when I got to Askenbryan College, the sort of the plant idents we used to do everywhere, I was obsessed with them and I couldn't get enough of it. Absolutely loved it. Just found myself full of joy and happiness.
Yeah. And I think I met you when you'd moved from South Yorkshire to North Yorkshire. So, and you'd set up a new nursery there, and that's when you were getting the Camassia collection, but all the other plants as well. And that's when you started doing displays at shows, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, I set up the nursery in South Yorkshire, north of Sheffield, near a village called Wortley. And we lived in a cottage called Hare Spring Cottage. And that was the name for the nursery. I remember Malcolm saying to me at the time, it's a ridiculous name, it's too long. And I said, it resonates with me. I've always loved hares. Yeah. I don't know why, but I just have. Fascinated me. And so it's still Hare Spring Cottage Plants now. And then I broke my right knee rather badly and was in a wheelchair for a couple of months. And so we moved to the north of York for some level land. And yes, I started exhibiting, but I got a lucky break. I met Chris Beardshaw at Arley Hall in Cheshire. at their summer garden festival at the end of June every year. And he asked me to grow Camassia for him for Chelsea the following year. And it just took off. The nursery took off. Perhaps I wasn't ready for it looking back now, but I just wholeheartedly threw myself into it. It was an opportunity not to be missed for me, and yeah, I either thank or blame Chris Beardshaw, depending on how I'm feeling.
Well, yeah, but I also think, because, if you regular visitors that have either watched Chelsea on the television or been, there are sort of plants that go through phases. And years ago, it used to be alliums. And then all of a sudden, and probably the moment was when you grew the Camassias, that made it that everybody wanted Camassias after that. So in a way, you sort of brought Camassias to the forefront again of people at shows and in gardens. So, and they're still very popular, of course, aren't they?
And maybe I'm a bit too humble to accept what you've just said, but I think that it certainly had a hand in raising the profile of Camassia. And it still fascinates me now when I meet people who have never heard of them, have never seen them before, because they're so easy. They're so easy, as you know, Martin. Such an easy bulbous perennial.
They are. And if you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube, there are some pictures of Camassias, but they're essentially a bit like a bluebell, aren't they? But but I'm just trying to describe them. But a straight spire, but so much nicer, of course. And they've got the spiky foliage and these beautiful blue sort of columns of flowers this time of the year, sort of May into late May, and some go actually into June, I think, don't they?
They do. So the flowering period, although again this year we've had a very, very hot start to the spring, haven't we? So so the flowering period roughly is mid-April to mid to the end of June. Now, not one Camassia cultivar will flower for 8 to 10 weeks, but if you've got a carefully chosen selection, you can definitely get 8 to 10 weeks flowering from Camassia. And yes, you're right, the creamy white ones tend to flower later and dovetailing towards the end of the blue Camassia flowering season. So you're stretching out that flowering period.
So where do they come from? And just, give us a few cultural tips, because they're totally hardy, aren't they? And sort of the conditions are like, where do they come from?
So they're bone hardy. They originate from North America. So the native North American Indians used to grow naturalised Camassia quamash species in meadows, and towards the end of August every year they'd harvest them, and then they'd roast them over makeshift fire pits in the ground, because then they would store them and they'd become a real source of sugars and starches of food for them over long harsh winters. They'd also grind them down and make a kind of flour and make a kind of cake which also stored. And I have tried over many years. I've roasted them. I've even added extra virgin olive oil and sea salt and cracked black pepper, and they're disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
So you don't serve them to guests when they come for dinner parties?
If they're uninvited guests, they might get them.
Okay, good. Well, what we'll do, we'll take just a little break now, and then we're going to come back and find out. We'll find out what you're up to, because you've moved now to Devon. So we're going to find out all about the nursery there and the garden that you're creating.
Coming up, there's a job related to fruit trees, really, I suppose. That really you should listen to, because you need to do it now. But I'm interested, talking of things that you eat, about, whether she actually offered you any food, Martin.
Stella didn't know, thankfully.
She didn't have... Oh, no, she did have some roasted bulbs on her stand,
she had
actually.
some on the stand. Yeah, but I didn't. I should have got one. I wonder if they like sort of like peanuts that you'd have as a bar snack. Because they're not big, are they, particularly?
No,
yeah.
She didn't make them sound very appealing, did she, really?
I wasn't.
I'm not tempted.
I wasn't tempted.
No, I think it's got to be fairly drastic before we go and dig them up out the garden and roast them.
Would you dig them up after they've flowered?
I think if you're just eating them, it wouldn't really matter. But
no, but because
if you were...
I know we've talked before. In fact, when we were talking to Taylor's Bulbs, they were saying that as the daffodil is flowering, the bulb is quite small, isn't it? It shrinks because all the goodness is in the flower. So that wouldn't be the time to roast and eat them, would it?
No, I think they were winter foods, so they'd dig them up in the autumn when they'd be fully charged before they started to grow.
That makes sense.
So yes.
I'm thinking we eat all sorts of bulbs, don't we? Garlic and onions and all sorts of tubers as well.
Yes,
So
yeah.
Makes sense.
Potatoes, ginger, all this sort
maybe
of
she
thing.
needs to keep trying with different condiments.
I am
you
quite
could,
curious now. I think we might need to.
I think, what, salt and vinegar flavoured.
Yeah, but or do you go sweet?
Well,
you
yeah.
think
Or are they
you
the
could-
flavour for something else?
Maybe. We need to.
And I need to do a bit of
when we see her
research.
next.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Watch this space for Jill's recipe.
I
Yeah.
can say yes. It could be you'll be doing it as a demonstration at the flower
Yeah.
show near you soon.
Oh dear! For those who remember, a few podcasts ago, I talked about maybe getting the camellia leaves in the pot to boil them up. So
Yeah.
maybe it'll be a bit like that.
It's called tea.
Don't try this
Yeah,
at home.
No.
Don't try some. Anyway, look, we should get onto some gardening questions. Just a reminder, if you've got a question for Martin or anyone on the team, drop us an email, info@potsandtrowels.com. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you limbered? Are you
I'm all ready to go.
Ready to go. Here we go. All right. So we'll start from one we've had on YouTube, and it was on a recent video about the Chelsea chop. You've done an early Chelsea chop on some of the plants. Well, I can't remember. Was it a Nepeta? No, Nepeta, was it? Sorry.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
My memory is so short. I can't
Yeah,
remember
no,
a week
Nepeta.
ago. Anyway, can you Chelsea chop a stone crop? And I don't know what stone crop is, so maybe we need a bit more detail there.
Well, a stone crop is a type of sedum, but I mean, this what I would know as a stone crop is a very small leaf trailing plant, a rockery plant with yellow flowers on it that only grows to maybe 2 or 3 inches tall, but makes it a carpet. So I certainly wouldn't do the Chelsea chop on that, but if it's the taller sedums that you're referring to, like sedum autumn joy that will grow to maybe 18 inches tall and have lovely flat panicles of sort of deep red flowers in the autumn, then yes, you can. They work really well. They're not called sedum anymore. They've been renamed Hylocephalum just to confuse it a little bit.
That's not easy,
It doesn't
is it?
roll off the tongue quite the same as sedum. But botanically now they're Hylocephalum. But the little succulent sedums that are rockery plants, they are still sedums to confuse us even more. But the taller ones, yes, you can cut them back by about half this time of the year. I mean, traditionally, this weekend, because it's the start of the Chelsea Flower Show, is when you would do the Chelsea chop. So get out there with your shears and chop away.
Get chopping. And I didn't mention that was from Vanessa on YouTube. And also, just a reminder, if you are sending questions, do tell us where you are in the world/country/hemisphere.
Do we know where Vanessa is from?
No,
Oh,
I'm
right,
afraid
okay.
not. I'm afraid not. Another question also on the Chelsea chop from Graham Thomas. Been trying to find information on hot lips. Could I do the Chelsea chop on it? Thanks for both your help. So I'm
Okay.
guessing that's salvia hot lips from
Yeah.
my extensive knowledge of horticulture.
Absolutely, yes, yeah, and it's a really, really popular one. It's hardy. It's a shrubby salvia, and it's got red and white flowers. You could do, but I'm not sure you'd need to be fair, because hot lips is a continuous flower. So when it grows and starts to flower, it will flower right the way through until the autumn. So I don't know what benefit you would get by cutting it back other than delaying flowering, but it's why delay it when it's going to keep flowering anyway, if you get what I mean.
Okay.
So you could have a go, experiment, and let us know. But I personally don't think you'll gain an awful lot. But if you do, you've made a discovery, and let us know.
Let us know. Yeah, do definitely get in touch and tell us, and send us pictures. So that's another thing. If you are emailing and telling us where you are in the world and all the rest of it, you can also send us pictures.
Oh,
So
please.
if you've got a plant, a problem plant, or a pest, or a success, maybe you've got a bonanza of bananas. Let us know.
Like it.
Yeah. We don't want all failures, do we? We want
Yeah.
happy things as well.
Are you talking about the Chelsea chop in your jobs? Because we actually did it on the video. So I'm just thinking our podcast listeners probably won't realise that we did the video, which was a little while ago.
we did it a little bit earlier.
But we did it early.
we did-
So is it worth mentioning why we did it early?
Well, the reason we did it earlier, the Chelsea chop, for those that don't know what it is, it's done around the time of the Chelsea Flower Show, which is the third week in May, always. And it's with lots of different herbaceous perennials. And as they're making that lovely, strong, vigorous growth at this time of the year, if you want to make them stockier and bushier rather than being really tall, and you want to stagger the flowering time, you can get your shears and chop them back by, a third or a half. And it seems quite drastic to do, but then they'll branch out, you'll get bushier plants, and the flowers are delayed. So the theory is, if you've got several clumps of the same group of flower in your garden, if you cut them back at different stages, you can get a longer flowering period with them. And we did it with Nepeta, and the Nepeta this year had gone mad, but it had flopped. It had just completely flopped. So it was a bare centre, and all the foliage had flopped to the side because we've had it so dry for the last 2 months. And I think because of lack of water, it wasn't standing upright. It had flopped. So we got the shears to it a couple of weeks ago to give it a trim. We've given it a good drink, and looking out the window now, I can see it's just starting to shoot. So it will flower, but it's going to be flowering a month later than it would have done normally. But hopefully we'll keep it more compact and not floppy.
Excellent, good stuff. Well, so when you say herbaceous perennials, I feel like I need more examples of what that means, because I look at my garden and we've got various shrubs and things. I don't always know what class they're in.
Right. Well, a perennial is something that comes back every year. So in theory, a shrub is a perennial because it's there year after year after year. A herbaceous perennial is a plant that dies down to ground level. So in the winter it dies down, disappears, the roots are alive, and then in the spring it bursts into growth. So it can be hostas, it can be Michaelmas daisies, things like the Nepeta, Alchemilla mollis, Rudbeckia with the lovely yellow daisy flowers. So all of these phlox die down in the winter, come back in the spring, and then flower in the summer.
Got you. That helps me no end, Brill. We have got some of those. I don't know what they're called.
Okay.
But we definitely got things that do that.
We'll have a look next
herbaceous
time we come to
perennial.
yours.
Yes.
Excellent. Where are we going? Are we going to go for another question, do you think? Or
Yeah, can do.
go on
Yeah,
then.
we've
Why
got
don't
one
we?
on the sweet pea video that we did.
Okay.
That's going back a little while, isn't it? But it's there on the Pots and Trowels videos from Miss Kitty. And Miss Kitty says, do you pinch the seedlings just once, or do you do it again later in the season?
Just the once, Miss Kitty, really. I mean, when you've
Do you want to just explain what you were doing?
Yeah, well, I can't remember what the video was now because it was a long time ago. But
I'm guessing.
when you sown them from seed and you've got seedlings a few inches tall, you pinch the tip of the seedling out, so the growing point, the very top of the seedling, just pinch it out, and then it encourages the buds below that to grow. So you get a multi-stemmed sweet pea. So you get more flowering stems.
more bushy almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Rather than just one gangly stem.
But some people grow them with just one stem, don't they? So you get sort of longer stems on the flowers.
Well, if you're doing them as a cordon, you would then probably select just one of those stems, or you could train them all individually up canes and tie them to it. And if you're doing that technique, you take the tendrils off as well. But if you're just going to we just let ours scramble up some twiggy sticks and canes. We pinch the tip out, we get the bushier plants, and then you've got more flowering stems.
Okay. We do have one last question. Well, it's kind of a talking point, really.
Oh, right, okay.
Somebody who is put a comment on the Forsythia pruning video that we did a year or two ago. Their name is If You Knew What I Knew. So don't know their actual name. They have a different opinion about the pruning technique.
How dare they?
I won't go into the exact wording.
Okay.
They're saying that if you cut old branches back to the base, you'll get new stems that flower all the way up to the stem in an arched branch, rather than doing what you did, which was cutting them to the height you wanted them. So,
Yeah.
Thoughts? Discuss.
Well, thoughts, discuss. Well, thank you. Join in as well if you feel like it, you two. Well, Forsythia is a shrub. It's deciduous. It flowers in the spring, April time, the yellow flowers. Flowers on the previous season's growth. So it's the growth that it's making this summer will carry the flowers for next year. So the way I prune them, in fact, the one that we pruned on that video a couple of years ago, actually we did take out in the end. I think on the video I said we're in two minds whether to keep it or get rid of it, and it was in the wrong place, so we did get rid. But with a Forsythia, it can get to be quite big, so you can prune them to maintain the size and shape. I've even seen them grown as a hedge, and they make a really good flowering hedge. So you would normally prune them after flowering, so you can still be doing it now, so it gives them time to make growth. But so I would maintain sort of a shape. If you wanted a 4 foot, 5 foot tall shrub, you would roughly maintain that, thin the branches a little bit, cut back some of the longer ones, so you've got roughly the shape that you want. Makes a bit of extension growth this summer, and that will flower next spring. The comment we've got is basically saying that is not the way to do it. You should cut everything down to ground level, and then it will produce really strong growth. So if you were to cut a Phacelia down with your loppers to ground level, you would get 4, 5, 6 feet of growth this season. But I don't think that would flower, because they put although they flower on the previous season's growth, that is putting so much energy into that growth. And I've seen it done where people have tried to rejuvenate one, and they've done exactly that, and it takes a couple of years before it comes back to flower. So in theory, it may be, but I don't think it would work particularly well. And then you're always cutting it down to ground level, and you want that structure there. To me, you want it as a shrub rather than cutting it down hard every year. So, but obviously, if it works for that, we don't know if it's a lady or a gentleman.
Yes, whatever works for you.
Whatever works for you.
And also, I suspect the other thing is, and it comes back to what I said before about tell us where you are in the world. It makes a huge difference where you are in the world, doesn't it? Yeah. And equally, that might mean that this person doesn't know how things go where we are.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anyone has thoughts on Phacelias, do drop us a comment or send us an email with pictures of your Phacelia. We'd love to see them.
Yes.
I feel like we need to go and find out what Stella's.
Because she's still waiting on the back of that lorry.
Yeah.
So although you're a Yorkshire lass and you've always lived in Yorkshire, South Yorkshire and North Yorkshire, a few years ago, about 2.5 years ago, I think you made the break and you've gone pretty well as far south as you can go down into Devon. So what made you leave your lovely Yorkshire? Was it anything to do with the fact we lived a few miles away from you?
Yeah, we moved about the same time, didn't we? I think we were both trying to escape each other, Martin, and we moved furthest away to make sure we were away from you. That's it. We've always been going to this part of South Devon. It is the southernmost tip of Devon. The whole area is an area of outstanding natural beauty. It's called the South Hams, and we've been going down there on holiday for years with our children, and driven past this cottage for years, and I've always said to Malcolm, oh my word, look at that, wisteria on the front. Didn't know it had got 3.5 acres with a stream through it, an old barn, a bit of a woodland. Someone wanted to buy our house in Yorkshire. We wanted to keep the nursery. House came on the market. Within 8 weeks, bang, we were there. 3 articulated lorries for the nursery down those narrow Devon lanes was an experience, and then 1 regular van for the house. So that's kind of how it came about, but it's just wonderful.
So it wasn't particularly planned to move there, it just happened. Everything fell into place and just, yeah.
It really was. It did. It just happened. You're spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, these things are sometimes destiny, aren't they? So you're growing all your Camassias there. How many have you got in your national collection?
I've got 84 different cultivars in my national collection. That includes cultivars I inherited from the late Margaret Owen, who was the previous national collection holder of Camassia after she died, and cultivars that I've bred that I've not yet named yet, but I've stabilised and they will be named at some point.
Okay. And the nursery isn't open to the public all the time, but you have open days, don't you?
Yes, I never wanted a retail nursery. I'm a grower first and foremost, and I thought, well, I can't do that and open at the same time. So we have the 3 open weekends a year, usually April, June, August, and we have gorgeous home-baked cakes. It's a fab vibe. It's lovely. It's so friendly, and dogs are welcome, and it's just lovely. But then we do open by appointment because not everybody can make the open weekends.
And of course you do lots of shows. I mean, at the moment we're at Malvern, last day of Malvern, we're sitting on the back of your lorry, aren't we, in the beautiful sunshine. So what's next for you? Chelsea, I presume?
Yeah, we've got a 3-day turnaround. So last day of Malvern today, pack up tonight, probably get home about 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then off to Chelsea on Thursday. But I have to say, this blue sky here, it's like a Devonian sky. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And then after that, you've got lots of other shows through the season. So you're on the road, you and Malcolm, an awful lot, aren't you?
We are. but I love to get back home. Don't get me wrong, I miss Yorkshire, I miss my friends and family, I miss aspects of Yorkshire, definitely, but so happy in South Devon.
Yeah, well, I've seen photographs of what you've done with the garden, and you've got the most amazing greenhouse, one to die for. So I can imagine it's really lovely to go back and potter about the nursery, take the dogs walk. You've got, yeah, it looks idyllic. Any chance I might better pop in one day?
Well, we did move away to stop you doing that, Martin, you know, so, but go on then.
Go on then, yes. Just give me the postcode.
Well, Mrs. Fish is very welcome. Let me leave it like that.
Oh, I'll stop in a hotel nearby, Stella.
That would be marvellous.
Yeah. Well, thanks for chatting. Looking forward to seeing what you're doing at Chelsea. If you're the Master Grower at the RHS Malvern Festival, tell us, what is Master Grower?
The RHS invite 3 nurseries each year to exhibit as a master grower at 3 different shows. And so for me this year it was Malvern Spring, so here we are, final day, and it's to recognise your achievements in horticulture, growing, exhibiting, everything to do with your nursery, sort of your relationships with your customers and the whole shebang. What a privilege.
Yeah, and you've created a wonderful display with not only the Camassias, but all the lovely sort of late spring flowering plants. Lots of props in there, you know, your galvanised buckets and watering cans. Some, I think, were your granddad's, weren't they?
The small watering can on the bench was my granddad's when he was a child. And I remember Alan Titchmarsh once seeing it and saying, oh, that's fine or something. And I said, oh, it's my granddad's. And I didn't get the child bit in. And he said, he had a very quick quip and he just said, oh, was he a small man?
Yeah, no, it's lovely. Well, we've taken lots of photographs. So again, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you can see the stand. It's not judged. It's just there for people to admire, isn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah, we're delighted with it. It took us a week to build it, but it was fun doing it. And it's had a lot of praise, which is marvellous. And it's sort of evoked a lot of emotion in people with the undulation and the colours and the movement, because we're near a doorway, so the breeze is moving and moving plant. It's, yeah, very happy.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And that's what you're really good at, that naturalistic planting. So that's sort of what everybody dreams of having in their garden. So it is amazing. Well done.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you.
So we're off to Chelsea very soon, and all the exhibitors are there already. They're all busy setting up. I know I follow some of them on social media, and they're putting lots of posts on about the preparation for Chelsea. And so we shall go and see Stella straight away, take lots of photos, and then we'll maybe put some on the Pots and Trowels Instagram.
Do.
So yes, tomorrow I'll be judging in the big floral marquee there. So yeah, it all happens.
And Plant of the Year, of course.
Plant of the Year.
Yes.
We'll be
We've
looking at
talked
the
about.
Plant of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah, be voting on Plant of the Year. So we'll report back.
Yeah. So all of that will be, I'm sure, on a future Pots and Trowels video, or well, we're not allowed to video. It's the BBC. BBC
yeah.
have a monopoly on that. Okay, there won't be any video of that, but we'll put some photos and stuff on the Instagram.
Plus, of course, Mr. Fish in his bowler hat when he's judging, because that's
Yes,
a bit of a
definitely.
tradition you're bringing back. We've talked about that before, haven't we? So
Absolutely, yeah.
might sneak a photo of Martin in his bowler hat in there as well.
So while you're gallivanting down at Chelsea, what do I need to be doing in the garden?
Right, okay. Well, a few little jobs. Strawberries, because I know you have strawberries as well. And I looked at our outdoor strawberry patch, the one in the raised bed that we filmed earlier this year for one of our videos, sort of cutting them down and feeding them. They are now really lush. Lots of foliage, lots of flowers, and just setting into fruits now. So looks like we're going to have a bumper crop. So it's just a reminder, if you've got strawberries at that stage, give them a high potash feed. It's a little bit like when we feed our tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers. When they start to fruit, we start to give them the potash that makes the fruit swell and ripen. So get your feed onto them. If you've got some lovely polyanthus and the old-fashioned primulas in the garden, they're all coming to the end of flowering at this time of the year. If you want to divide them, now is the time to do it. We don't wait until winter. We do it immediately after flowering. Take the flowers off, dig the clump up, divide it into several plants, trim the foliage back, the leaves back by about half, just to stop water loss. Replant, give them a really, really good watering into the garden, and they will bulk up thicken up and you'll get lots more flowers off them next year. And just a little reminder that we've had very dry weather in lots of parts of the UK for the last 2 months. So anything newly planted trees, shrubs, herbaceous perennials, which you know what they are now, Sean, then make sure you give them a good drink. Not every day, but 2-3 times a week. Give them a good soak until we get some rain, and then that will take over. But we need to get the roots down. And the job that you do need to do, and again, it's always done at this time of the year, is to get your pheromone traps in your fruit trees. So if you've got apples or pears, or you've got plums and damsons, you can buy a little pheromone trap that you hang in the tree. There's specific for plums and pears. It's specific for plums and... I'm going to have to edit that bit. It's a specific trap for apples and pears and one for plums and damsons. Hang them in the tree and they attract the male moths, and it catches the male moths, so that then obviously the female moths can't lay fertile eggs and you won't get those little maggots inside your fruit.
Yeah, that's a real pain, isn't it, when you bite into it and there's half a maggot
Yeah, it is,
staring
isn't it?
back at
Terrible,
you.
isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know what's worse,
not
not
good.
seeing one because you didn't see it. Or,
Yeah.
Protein, but yeah, get your and they're available online, or you get them in garden centres. But get them in; it will really reduce the amount of damage to the fruit. So ours is ready to hang up in the tree, and we can look forward to a good crop of apples in the autumn.
Hope so.
Excellent, fantastic. Well, I think that's probably about all we have time for. Just a reminder, if you've got an email question, if you've got a question, do us an email. That's kind of what I mean by that. info@potsandtrowels.com. Tell us where you are, send any pictures you want to, and we'll get that question answered.
And you can just send us an email anyway, and we'll give you a shout out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Or drop us a comment on this video if you're watching it on YouTube, or if you're, whatever you're watching. Or we like to chat to people who listen to us and talk to us. That's great.
Jolly good, right?
Okay.
Thank you for listening, and
Time to
we'll
go.
speak to you next week.
All
See you
right.
next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Watch the videos on YouTube or Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter or X, and subscribe to the podcast and never miss a thing. For more information, go to potsandtrowels.com.